Let's be honest, the regular season in the NBA can sometimes feel like a slog, with the good teams preparing for the playoffs and the bad teams tanking for a higher lottery pick. But every once in a while, we get a really good regular season game between two good regular season teams, and I feel like tomorrow on Tuesday, February 2nd, we have a great example of this with the Nets facing the Clippers. So in this video, I'm going to be doing a little Nets Clippers preview and just talking about some of the matchups and some things to look out for, and then giving a prediction. So if we start with, well, both teams will be well rested for this game, or as well rested as you can really be in the NBA. Both teams played on Sunday. The Clippers beat the Nets, while the Nets lost to the Wizards in a pretty disappointing finish for them, with Westbrook and Beal both hitting threes. So both will be pretty well rested. The Nets are playing at home. The Clippers are already in New York, so that should lead to a higher quality game. And then this is like the first big test for the big three of the Nets all playing together. When they've all played together, they haven't really faced a big test or as good a defensive team as the Clippers, with such great individual and perimeter defenders. They faced the Bucks, but Kyrie wasn't playing in that game, so we'll see how the big three continues to mesh and how they continue to play together. And then a bit of a crazy net stat is, with James Harden, they have the best offense ever and the worst defense ever. So that is just a little bit wild, the fact that you can have the best offense ever, which, you know, might be actually sustainable just given the talent of the big three, but also the worst defense ever, which, you know, that's not sustainable for them if they want to go anywhere in the playoffs. So that could be a problem, and we'll see how they cope with the Clippers offense. And so if we talk about the Nets offense versus the Clippers defense, and the first thing is the Clippers might be the best team suited to guard the Nets in the whole league, especially to guard their stars. When we talk about Kyrie Irving, I suspect the Clippers will throw Patrick Beverley on him. And then to throw at Harden and KD, they have a plethora of wing defenders, most notably Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, but also Marcus Morris and Nicholas Batum can also do time on them. So they have plenty of defenders to throw at the big three, Irving, Harden, and Durant. And then something else that could be to the advantage of the Clippers defense is the Nets don't have an interior presence. Their center is DeAndre Jordan, and maybe Jeff Green will play some time at center. So that could be a weakness for the Clippers, you know, with Anthony Davis and, you know, Jokic both killing them in recent times. But the Nets don't really have that, so the Clippers might be dodging a bullet there. So we'll have to see. I think the Clippers are certainly well suited to defend the Nets. Some things I'm looking for is Harden has seemed unfazed by great defenders during the regular season. Last year versus the Clippers in the regular season, he played very well. So will they be able to stop him, and will he be maybe the main net scorer? And then the second thing is, really I'm looking for KD in this game. How much will he post up? I suspect the Clippers will throw Kawhi on him when it matters most, so in the fourth quarter. And, you know, I think Kawhi can probably do a pretty good job at staying with KD on the perimeter. But in the post, I would say they're pretty similar strength-wise, but Kevin Durant has an amazing jumper, a high release, and he probably has 3-4 inches on Kawhi in terms of height. So how aggressive will KD be? How much will he want to, you know, get points, and you know how many minutes is he going to play? How hard is he going to be going? Is he going to be going playoff mode, or just like another regular season game? Because we'll have to see. So I would say that could be one of the best avenues of offense for the Nets, Kevin Durant post-ups, and then also see how Harden can do. If we talk about the Clippers offense versus the Nets defense, as I mentioned, the Nets have the worst defense ever with Harden. So I don't know how much resistance they're going to be providing. We'll have to see. I mentioned Kevin Durant on offense. How about Kevin Durant on defense? Because he is probably I would say he's the Nets' best defender when engaged. So will they stick him on Kawhi, and you know, he'll have to be guarding him, and he'll have to work hard and play hard, and then we'll see how much he's doing on the offensive end. And, you know, he is coming off an injury, and how many minutes is he going to play? All that is a lot of questions, just because, you know, Kevin Durant, so will he guard Kawhi? Or will he just be put on Batum or Morris, or, you know, someone who's less of a threat to score and be able to rest and save his energy for the offense? That'll be very interesting to see. As for the Nets' other defenders, I assume Joe Harris will be on the other of Kawhi and Paul George, and then they'll probably stick Irving on Beverly and Harden on whoever, and then Jordan will guard the center. So that'll be interesting to see. I think the Clippers will run a lot of pick and roll with Kawhi and PG's improvements playmaking this year. I think they're both at about 6 assists, and the Clippers are moving the ball more. I think they could have some good success in pick and roll with DeAndre Jordan. So it would be Ibaka setting the screen or Zubac setting the screen for Kawhi and PG. I mean, if Jordan drops, then they can have some good success either within the mid-range or from 3, depending on if the defender goes over and under the screen. They could get some nice 2-on-1s and, you know, maybe force the Nets to scramble and rotate over, and then we can see the Clippers' new ball movement versus the Nets' defense, really, and their defensive rotations. And then brings me to my next point. Next point is, how will the Nets cope with the Clippers off ball and their ball movement? Just weak side actions, screening from Paul George, screening for Paul George, just the Clippers overall moving the ball more this season. That'll be interesting to see how the Nets cope. And then 2 more things. Like, the Clippers are quietly have been the second best offense in the league. They've been hitting their 3-pointers, so we'll have to see if the Nets can cope with that, as they're the worst defense ever. And then, will the Clippers go mismatch hunting at all for Kyrie or Harden with Kawhi? Like LeBron does in the playoffs, where they just have that guy come up and set the screen. So Beverly setting the screen on Kawhi's guy, and then Kawhi gets into an isolation against Kyrie if they can force a switch. So we'll see if that happens, and, you know, if the Nets will be willing to give up the switch in that situation. So that could be also an interesting storyline. So I think this is going to be a really good game. The Nets, obviously, with the big 3, best offense ever, worst defense ever. The Clippers with a good offense, playing well, sort of looking for redemption after that, you know, blowing the 3-1 lead last year. And then how much will KD do in a regular season game? Will he be going all out, playing, you know, high 30s in minutes, you know, guarding Kawhi and posting up? Or will he be taking a bit more chill and, you know, be less aggressive and maybe playing a few less minutes? So we'll have to see with that one. For my prediction, I think it'll be a pretty close game. Obviously, in the NBA, with the amount of threes being taken, it can always be a blowout. Like, if the Nets are hitting all their threes and the Clippers aren't, then the Nets are going to blow them out and vice versa. So hopefully, I think it will be a close game. Just with the offense, this should be able to trade blows through the first 3 quarters. And then it should be, you know, within reach for both teams with, you know, 10 minutes left in the 4th or so. And then we'll have to really see what happens. I'm just going to edge the Clippers winning this one. I think it'll be a close game. Maybe something like 118, 113 for the Clippers. Just the revenge tour from last year and sort of a statement game this could be on TNT and all that. And then also, I think the Clippers can slow the Nets offense. I don't think they can stop them, but I think they can slow them a little bit, force them into a few bad shots. Obviously, the Nets can make those shots, but, you know, they can just, you know, slow them a bit. The Nets don't really have an offense that can attack the Clippers' weakness, which is sort of the rim and the interior. And Clippers have plenty of good perimeter defenders to deal with the big 3. And then I just don't think the Nets can stop the Clippers' offense. They'll just have to hope that either the Clippers go cold and they can't make shots, or the stars just don't show up. So we'll see. I think it should be a really good game, a potential finals preview, and I think in the end the Clippers are going to win it. But that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.